This is Shelly Craft coming to you live on SNN Live. We're at the LD Micro main event in Bel Air, California, 2014. I'm here with Itamar Shimrat, CellSource Inc., CLCS. It's a publicly traded company. Itamar, welcome back to SNN Live.
Shelly, good to see you again. Always a pleasure.
Good to see you too. So tell me, give me a brief overview of the company.
CellSource is an area of biotechnology that is particularly hot right now, immunotherapy and regenerative medicine. The company is developing some proprietary cell therapies to use human cells to treat different ailments. We have three different areas of our activity, and I'll just go through them one at a time. First of all, for patients who need a bone marrow transplantation or a major organ transplant, they face a dual challenge of both finding a matched donor and also overcoming transplantation rejection. We can address both those issues by facilitating transplants with quote-unquote mismatched or only partially matched donors for both bone marrow and major organs, reducing the amount of immune suppression dramatically at the time of the transplant, and eliminating, in the case of organ transplants, completely eliminating the need for immune suppression after the transplant, which dramatically increases the quality of life of patients.
Interesting. So I always get into how fast it can get to market, because obviously as the aging population is suffering from many, many diseases that, in the past there was no chance of resolution or treatment. What do you think, I'm into timing issues.
Okay, well, we have different products, and like any clinical pipeline, they're on different time frames, and they're sequenced to come out one after another every year or two. Our first set of human clinical trials is slated to begin sometime within the next year in Europe, where we're combining two existing treatments that are already in the clinic in a proprietary combination. Because these are already clinical treatments, the time scales for getting them approved for trials and going through trials and getting them approved to treat patients are relatively fast compared to completely preclinical treatments. We're talking about doing what's called a phase 1-2 study, where you directly go to sick patients, so you're demonstrating both safety and efficacy, so it doesn't harm and it does good. A phase 1-2 study can be completed within 2 to 3 years, and in some cases for these type of treatments and these type of illnesses, after the phase 1-2 or after phase 2 study, you can already start treating a limited number of patients and have revenues and save lives even before you do a phase 3.
Where was the original technology developed?
All of the technology was developed in Israel. We licensed the technology from the commercial arm of the Weizmann Institute of Science in Rehovot in Israel, which is the premier research institution in Israel and world-renowned.
Been there, visited, very impressive. From your standpoint, what does 2015 look like for the company?
It's a very good question. First of all, for the treatment that I just talked about, which is the facilitating mismatched bone marrow transplantations, getting into the clinic and getting some good human data. For our VitoCell technology, which I hadn't mentioned in this particular interview yet, which has been in preclinical studies in animals extremely effective in treating lymphoma and leukemia, which are blood cancers, already finalizing the human treatment protocol for that and applying for approval or IND to begin treatments for that product, and also various developments in other products of ours in terms of patent announcements, major publications, and research moving forward.
In certain cases, in certain treatments, in certain particular diagnostics that you're working in, is there some way of getting the company accelerated status within the regulatory agencies?
Absolutely. So if you take an example by analogy, there's a company called MicroCap that was acquired by Amgen a couple of years back. Their treatment is not a cell therapy treatment, it's an antibody that causes T cells to attack cancer cells, whereas our product skips a step because we have a T cell that directly attacks cancer cells. But if you compare them with us, they did a phase 1-2 study in Europe in a very similar place to where we plan to do ours, and during phase 1-2 they got acquired by Amgen, which is a major corporation. When they submitted their phase 2 data in the United States in September, in October of this year, they already got a priority review designation, which is the new type of fast track in the American health system that's a breakthrough therapy designation. So that's a good example of how a treatment for blood cancer that's a very serious disease can move forward quickly in terms of getting funded by a major player, and also in terms of the US FDA allowing it to slide through so that people's lives can be saved that much sooner.
I'm going to ask you an off-the-wall question.
Nothing new about that.
Here's my question. When you look at the size of the markets that your individual product developments are going to deliver, how big a market in terms of dollars and cents? I know it's not small.
Okay, so the bone marrow transplantation market in the U.S. alone is over $1 billion, and it's a much larger market outside the U.S. And the market for blood cancer treatments is on the order of $20 billion and growing at near double-digit rates. And the market, which I haven't talked about before, but I know it's one of your favorite topics, for bionics and organ regeneration is also on the order of $20 billion.
And that obviously is going to be growing exponentially.
Well, the predictions are for 9 or 10% compound annual growth rate, but these type of events, like the example I gave earlier, of having large players get in early and fund in a meaningful way, and the FDA pushing things through after phase 2, one would expect to act as a catalyst, exactly as you are suggesting.
Itamar, please, for our audience, your website.
Absolutely. It's www.cell-source.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Itamar Shimrat, CellSource Inc. The publicly traded symbol is CLCS. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you live from the LD Micro main event in Bel Air, California, 2014. Itamar, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome.